You said I was cursed. You think I'm weak because I'm not like you. I know I was never what you wanted. But after all this, I thought maybe things were different.
You do not know everything, boy.
No. But at least I know the truth now.
The truth. The truth. I am a god, boy. From another land far from here. When I came to these shores, I chose to live as a man. But the truth is, I was born a god. And so were you. Boy, have you nothing to say?
Can I turn into an animal?
Can you turn into an animal? No. No, I do not think so.
God of War Ragnarok has been here for a while. It's a good game. Solid gameplay that builds on the efforts of the first. Tremendous music and a score to rival that of Ghost of Tsushima. Characters that look and feel real, true and authentic, regardless of their fantastical origin. But what is the beating heart at the beginning of this massive, awe-inspiring world? The monsters beneath the surface.
Don't take all day.
God of War Ragnarok shows us what was already known, that not all the gods are pure and kind, if any. Most are bitter, petty, driven by fear or pride. They are almost human, if not for their lack of remorse and empathy, allowing them to wipe out entire civilizations and landscapes alike without any more than a worry. Ragnarok works to show us what it takes to beat that monster, to overcome that darkness within the gods and within us. Each god has their own monster just under the surface, not just Kratos. Of course, the classic God of War can be a wrathful beast, but by strength he can grow to be better. Freya is afflicted by a craving for vengeance against those that wronged her, but learns to put it aside in order to help those who truly need her help. Thor is a destructive monster just like Kratos. This is kinda done on purpose. Almost a mirror to what Kratos might have been if he were not so stubborn and driven by the same vengeance that Freya is driven by now. Truly, the more you look at the different Aesir and Vanir, the more they start to look like Kratos. Odin is driven by his lust for knowledge and control. He's manipulative. These traits wash down onto Heimdall, and they're the only two gods who don't really learn to move past their own demons. Heimdall is seduced by Odin and the cause he preaches when Odin cares not for him in return, and the fate of Asgard's watchman. He dies. Also unable to let go of his grip on power even up until his death, Odin's refusal to give in and reluctance to put all of his power and abilities to good use end in his death too. A strong thread through the middle of the game is given to us directly from Faye.
A problem doesn't have to reach our doorstep for it to be our responsibility. If we have the power to limit the harm it could cause, we should act.
Odin is the one god who never used his power to help, and even when he was being helpful, such as with the Midgardians, giving them shelter, it was only to further his own agenda.
You know, I'd cut off your head, but it seems somebody beat me to it.
Aye. Oh, quite observant, brother.
How do the others relate to this, though? To be better. Going down our list are some easy spots to find. Some of the minor characters like Freya are easy to see, a god who has always been desired and good-willed, finally shoving off his maverick spirit in order to lead by example and sacrifice himself for something meaningful. This line of learning applies best to our main cast, Kratos, Freya, Atreus, and even Thor. So let's begin with that last one.
If I do help you, what's next?
Thor! Get down here!
All, Father.
Don't do that!
Thor has immense power, but like Kratos in a younger spirit, is only ever aimed at the enemies of Odin, rather than the people he could be helping. He is reclaimed as a hero in legend and myth, if not only for the propaganda that he's fighting the good fight.
We don't change. Destroy us.
Thor accepts his fate as a destroyer and seems to think in no small part to Odin's constant reinforcement that he will never change. He falls into these depressive episodes and does what he can to reclaim his individuality, bullying those below him to make the stupid god feel powerful like he's supposed to be. Fighting with his sons Magni and Modi, with Heimdall, and even with Atreus, Thor begins to see differently when Atreus and Sif speak to him about turning on Odin. But when he gets into battle at Ragnarok, the half-giant destructor sees nothing but an enemy in a man like Kratos, especially when Kratos and Atreus are around Thrud after killing Heimdall and the Valkyries. Despite all the efforts, Thor cannot see differently until he sees an equal, not an equal in power, but in stature, when Kratos refuses to fight him. Unlike everyone else who demands that Thor be better or change, or like Odin who controls and manipulates his own son even in death, Kratos, the ghost of Sparta and a destroyer like Thor, shows the god of thunder that there is an option to be better. He does not tell Thor to shape up, but instead lays down his own weapon and leaves it up to Thor himself. The smallest gesture is perfect to teach Thor that all this time he did not have to listen to the monster, or listen to Odin, to the destroyer, that his destiny is his own. Unfortunately, this is something that Thor learns too late, and it ends up costing him.
No.
I didn't want this. I did not want this.
If I do this,
Fate only binds you if you let it. Do what is necessary. Not because it is written.
Destiny is important to the main story of both God of War 2018 and Ragnarok. It's a through line in the first game, and the second begins to show that with enough willpower, one's destiny can be made their own. Just because something is written does not mean it will be true. The first example of sidestepping destiny is Atreus and his choice to help the giants. The greatest monster that the son of the ghost faces are the monsters of others. Odin's want to use him for power. Kratos imparting his misguided wisdom, Freya simply just turning him away. Atreus is not ready and immediately gives into the way he's been taught. As Kratos ran away to hide in the woods, the first time Atreus tries and fails with the serpent, he goes to run away. He gives up.
I'll distract Arm. You freeze his chains with your axe so he can't run and latch him onto something.
No, too dangerous.
Not until his true test with Garn does Atreus understand what it really means to avoid fate. Being forced up against an immovable object with an unstoppable force, it takes the originality of Atreus to subdue the beast and bring forth a new life. Without him, the Spartan may have leveled all of Helheim in an attempt to stop the wolf.
Atreus. I am sorry.
don't be sorry, Father. Be better. Let's go home.
Be better. In a vacuum, this advice would be harmful at worst, but like the Master Jedi Yoda in The Empire Strikes Back, do it or not, there was no try, the advice is circumstantial. The gods have the power to be better. They have that change within them. So rather than throwing in the towel, rather than running away to the woods to retire, they stand up. Finally getting on the same page, this is where Kratos and Atreus can understand each other. Atreus' want and humanity to help people, and Kratos' godhood to be able to make that help. Atreus is better by taking the advice of the monsters around him but applying his own logic to it. Not only does he have to be strong and quick in order to help those around him, but he can be strong and also a force for good, something that Kratos could never even imagine to be possible after all the pain and suffering he has caused, not only himself, but others around him too.
It'll always be angry.
But no. You are not the one who needs to die.
In the realm of changing fate and seeking to be better, Freya is a god betrayed by her spouse and burdened by pain. Losing her people, her son, bitter and lusting for revenge, she goes blind in rage to take it out on the only one that she can. Kratos. Odin is too far out of sight as she can't even leave Midgard. So what changes? She sees Kratos protect Atreus from himself, an action she could only wish for after the unrelenting path that Baldur was on. The smallest glimmer of trust through Atreus, the innocence of childhood, is what bore her to give Kratos a chance as he vowed to free her from Odin's curses, even as she threatened harm against him in the process. The trip through Vanaheim helps to show that Kratos and Freya, both warriors of their people with a history of violence, are not too different. The main stake between them is that Freya is a protector with nothing left but vengeance. All that the Ghost of Sparta had was vengeance. Now he's a protector, but it's kind of a selfish protection. By protecting Atreus, he seeks to protect the only peace in his life he had through Faye and the woodland cabin. When Freya is finally freed and Kratos apologizes for robbing her of choice, she doesn't try to kill him. She does not forgive him.
To be honest, I don't think I can do either.
But instead sees that Kratos is not the one deserving of her vengeance, and that Odin is. And while Kratos might see revenge as a fool's notion, he remains on the sideline of Freya's wrath to not rob her of that choice a second time. Freya's eventual mercy over even Odin, the one who was near to cost her everything, is the ultimate culmination of her wrath being subdued by the example that Kratos has set. The general, who's killed all of Greece, refuses to fight if he does not have to, giving mercy to all, even Thor, and in the same vein, Freya chooses to spare Odin, but if not only that the life of a marble is no life at all. The true revenge is only carried out by Sindri, a bystander to the war who lost everything in Odin's trickery, and is truly deserving of the smash of the marble, but also saves Freya from consuming herself in anger.
What I've done, yes! But what will you do now?
Finally, we have Kratos, the Ghost of Sparta, the God Killer, the monster, but in the end, he dies. Kratos' death was foreshadowed in the first game, shown to be his end fate, and saving him was Atreus' main goal across the course of Ragnarok. Kratos never actually dies, of course, but the killer, the monster, does. The story and the world affirm that fate only controls you if you let it. Kratos says this himself. Those who do not change, as we've seen, are controlled by fate. But Kratos does not let fate control him, not by trying to outsmart or beat it, but by changing himself and therefore his fate. These changes are small at first, but they build and build.
Brother?
Seeing several visions of his past wife, Kratos is stirred up from sleep after speaking to Faye in his dreams. I do not think these are just so painful for him to watch as to make him disturbed, but rather that the beast, the monster inside Kratos, fighting for control. Almost in a Jekyll and Hyde manner. None of these memories are particularly painful. They encounter a wounded wolf, sail with a newborn Atreus, and make preparations for Faye's passing. But in each and every memory, Faye tells Kratos with increasing tenacity to use his power for good. At first, Kratos cannot accept that his strength could even be used for good. He wakes up in a struggle because all he can do when he lets his guard down is pick it right back up. Even when he performs good acts like helping Atreus to free the half-Gufa, it's something he sees as Atreus doing. He's just there to help. Or when they would save spirits and the Valkyries, Kratos refused that he was helping, but merely that it was a side effect of him going for something else, like provisions or gear for his own journey.
And when death arrived,
It's not until Kratos has seen the effect of what his help can do, when Atreus asks him for help sleeping the night before Ragnarok, is when he even considers that his powers can be used to create a safer world, a beacon for hope and an anchor for others to hold on to, rather than just hurting everyone around him. When he accepts that his powers can be used for good, he is no longer sorry for having helped, but becomes better, and is now able to sleep peacefully.
wars are won by those that are willing to sacrifice everything. If that is the cost of vengeance, so be it.
The other way to see Kratos' progress is the interaction he has with Freya and later Thor. He can relate to both gods, both losing a family and being an unstoppable destroyer. But with Freya, he holds his axe ready, not because he thinks that she can be a real threat, but because he doesn't even consider that after everything, Freya would be kind to Kratos in return, that she would choose to move past it, even if it were just for a time. He does not wield his weapon, and doesn't yield to combat because he expects a tough fight, but because he expects to fight at all. Compared to Thor, who he fights after learning that he can be helpful, even going so far as to save the people of Midgard who are left out to die.
I was wrong, Atreus. I was wrong. Open your heart. Open your heart to their suffering. That is your mother's wish. And mine as well.
He learns that if we have the power to help, we should. That being better is not good enough, especially for a god.
We'll breach the wall at Hrimthor's Flaw.
With what army?
Atreus and I will be enough.
That's suicide.
It may be. But we will die seeking justice, not vengeance.
Because if you have all the power, you should help. So when he comes face to face with Thor, he chooses not to fight, to yield and instead put his weapons away, not just to be better, but to do good and give the god of thunder a chance at life with his own family, a choice that he took away from Freya, but not one he would take from Thor.
What did you see in there, brother?
All around him thought they could see Kratos for what he was, a destroyer, a monster. Athena tells him this. Freya does. Thor does. Odin does. Even Atreus starts to think Kratos might not change after he forges the spear to kill Heimdall. The difference between Kratos' saving of Freya from Baldur and the mercy of Thor demonstrates how he has let go of the monster. When retrieving the blades of chaos, Athena would call out the monster in Kratos. This wasn't wrong, but as the man puts it,
I know. But I am your monster no longer.
he accepts his status in the world as a destructive force that only hurts those around him, even when doing the right thing. But his wife, Faye, could see through Kratos. She could see the real god of war. Where his fate was to die in Ragnarok, she could see that a god as powerful as the Spartan could not just be better, but do good things and be loved for it. Kratos choosing to give mercy to Thor is him growing past this monster that just kills for the greater good, because he must be better. The panel behind the final prophecy, showing his travels from Greece through to the death of the monster, also reveals to Kratos what Freya had seen all along, the god of war, fighting not for vengeance or hatred, but for hope and justice.
Loki will go. Atreus. Atreus remains.
In a single sentence, Kratos accepts his son for who he is. He accepts that the world is worth something and that he has the power to be better and save those around him. I find it so beautiful that even a man so broken and distraught as Kratos, who believes that everything he touches is destroyed and lost, can learn that his powers can be used responsibly for the well-being of others. Over the course of the duology, Kratos learns what it means to be human again, to fail briefly, and to understand his failures, how he failed Freya and goes past it, and how he nearly failed Atreus. It's astoundingly amazing to me how the entirety of the first game and half of Ragnarok focuses on Atreus' bewilderment of Tyr and his capacity for peace. A god of war who only seemed to take up arms in defense of others, and by the end of Ragnarok, Kratos can become that figure, not only to Atreus, or to the other gods, or the people he helps along the way, but even to himself. Kratos is able to move past and kill his monster. The god of war emerges, but he fights for love, not hate. Because if we have the capacity, the ability to help, and be better, then we should, when we can. Hello, if you've made it this far into the video, this is the end, but thank you very much for watching all the way through. This game has obviously left an impact on me, and I just want to do my part to share my experience, my interpretation of that said story. That being said, still, thank you very much for watching if you have. If you'd like, there is the ability to subscribe and whatever, more shit. I don't really care. As long as you've watched this one video, I'm happy. So thank you for watching. Remember to stay cool, have fun, and be awesome. And I'll see you next time. Good night.